Latvila's win in Japan rejuvenated his championship hopes and put him back in the top 5. On the GT2 side, Freckleton has proven himself to be not only incredibly consistent, but fast as well. His points lead keeps growing, and we're not even halfway through the season yet. What will Brazil hold in store for these fascinating stories? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch Round 7 of the Porsche Owners Club Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Interlagos has been the scene of both domination and upset, as it's flanked by fervent Brazilian race fans. Let's hop over to our track guide to find out what makes it so popular. Welcome to Autodromo's Jose Carlos Pache. Most fans and drivers simply know this place as Interlagos. Starting life as an absolute behemoth of a circuit, this Brazilian track was eventually truncated to the version you see today. Having hosted Formula One for roughly 3 decades, it's become very well known on the international stage. But it has also held rounds in the World Endurance Championship, as well as frequently seen Brazilian stock cars, motorcycles, and even truck racing. There's little difference between its 2 layouts, which includes the GP course and the Moto course, which simply adds a chicane to the end of the lap. In both cases, it's a tale of 2 circuits. The run past the start-finish line and into the Senna S, followed by the blast towards the Descida do Lago, are very high-speed sections that come back-to-back. Drivers will need to focus on top end in order to attack or defend. Expect most passes to happen in those 2 corners. But from Ferradura until Juchau, the track suddenly twists itself into a mess of hairpins and frustratingly technical turns. This can make car setup a real compromise, and for the latter part of the lap, an absolute pain when dealing with traffic. Pit exit is also a narrow affair, so it requires drivers to take care when trying to maximize their outlaps. On the upside, with this being a modern F1 track, there's paved runoff in abundance at many of the fast corners. The passion of the Brazilian fans always comes out in force at races, and it's no wonder with this picturesque track sandwiched right amongst the neighborhoods of Sao Paulo. Well, DJ, we're used to seeing Formula One here, but not as often seeing classes like this intermingling on the track. How is that going to play out?
Well, Joe, for the first and third sector, it's going to be relatively easy. There's a lot of good drafting opportunities in wide open areas for these cars to get around each other and maneuver around slower cars. But the real problem is going to be in that sector too, from about Descida do Lago all the way up to the junction, that final corner before the long sweeping straightaway. That is the area where these GT1 class Porsche RSRs do not want to encounter any slow traffic. It's very, very hard to get by there. So that's going to be a major danger area for us to watch during the course of this. Now, in terms of passing zones in both classes, obviously the dive down into turn 1, that wonderful downhill chicane of the Senna S, that is a fantastic opportunity not only for an attack, but a good fight back if you are the defender in that position. And then getting a good draft down the Reto Aposta and into Descida do Lago, that is another good opportunity as well. For the middle sectors, no matter what car you are in, it's all about keeping everything nice and perfect. It's very easy to run over a line here, get a toe off into the grass, and these drivers are going to have to be very careful because this track will bite you if you are not on it 24/7.
Certainly seems pretty difficult, but obviously, of our sponsors here today, the main one is Porsche. There is no substitute. Find out more at Porsche.com. And of course, Sunset Mortgage. Don't put your money in the bank, be the bank. Check them out today at sunsetcash.net. And Octavio Tequila. Celebrate now. For a great tasting tequila, go to octaviotequila.com and purchase today. And finally, Century Financial Consultants, making the rest of your life the best of your life. You can check out their website at centuryretire.com. Now, championship-wise, as we take a look at the GT1 class, it's Travis Brown leading currently ahead of Michael Johnson by only a scant 7 points. And Bayan Salehi, unfortunately, dropping back a bit after last week, or 2 weeks ago, I should say. Corey Latvala, as I mentioned, jumping up, still 25 points back from the top spot. So he's got some ways to make up to find himself in the lead, but we have a long championship left to go. Teddy Framheim rounds out your top 5, and that, of course, takes us to the GT2 championship here. DJ?
Well, Joe, as you said in that intro, Jerry Freckleton's speed and consistency has propelled him to a pretty sizable lead of 17 points over John Momeyer, but I really have to say that it looks like it's a two-way race for the lead between those two, as Aaron Edwards is all the way back, 40 points back in third. That is a near unassailable gap for him. Adam Fulton only 7 points off of Aaron, so a little bit room to spake there, and then Tyler King about 6 points back as well. So a pretty decent battle being able to shape up there for P3.
Now for today's race in particular, let's run you down the race details if you're new to the Porsche Owners Club series. It is round 7, as we mentioned here today, and it's going to be a 30-minute race. They do have quite a bit of open qualifying, which they're in the midst of currently to try and determine our pole sitters and starting order. But there you can see the two different cars that they are allowed to race in each respective class. The GT4 Cayman for the GT2 class, and then the Porsche 991 RSR in the GT1s. It is an open setup series, so drivers will try to get the best out of these machines by tweaking that setup to make them as quick as possible around the track. Bayan Salehi actually has the pole currently, but it's not by a lot. There is less than a tenth back to Hagendick there in second place, and another close gap back to Fulton, as well as Latvala, Johnson, Robinson. The first time you get more than a tenth of a second gap between two cars is between 6th and 7th, as Michael Ryan Johnson also has a pretty tight fight down there for the pole position in the GT2 class, with Marc Rondeau behind him by only 3/100ths.
Yeah, that's right, Joe. It's very, very competitive across the board here, and it's really a testament to these drivers, as this is open qualifying, so all cars are out on track together, and definitely having to navigate around some traffic makes it more and more difficult to get a clean lap there. We watch Michael W. Johnson making his way around the Descida del Lago, one of those passing zones I talked about, that double apex left-hander. There you can see him getting quickly over to the left, passing some of those GT4s before diving the car up the hill. It's one of the hardest braking zones in the world right there.
Yeah, this infield section is trying for sure, as he's going to work his way down towards the junction here soon. We're going to see if Hagendick can go those 9/100ths quicker as he's coming to the line. He's just shy, 29.4 that time for him. So instead we go to Travis Brown, who sits in 8th. His last lap was actually his fastest, but now he does one better by about a tenth, and that will promote him into 7th.
And here comes BJ Fulton, currently 4th on that chart, just a minuscule couple of hundredths up the road to Corey Latvala in 3rd. BJ's going to cross the line. He's going to not go any faster there, about a tenth off.
Yeah, top 6 right now are less than 0.3 of a second apart. Ron Palmer did not set a time last time by, so let's look at Rondeau, who's still chasing Johnson, and that is another non-lap for him, unfortunately. You can get off tracks at a couple places around here. It's a modern F1 track, and they do have plenty of paved runoff in spots.
They certainly do. Specifically, the areas you've got to watch out for is that uphill section that we watched earlier, as well as coming through the junction. Very, very easy to run wide as you try to carry some speed. Here comes Karasi across the line. Looks like that lap's not going to count for him. He's not on the board yet, but we still have about 4 minutes to go, so Mehmet's going to have some time to get it. Here comes Nico Silva, though.
Silva, who came into qualifying late, only has a single time on the board, which is good enough for last in his field. I'm watching, I was watching Latvala, who just spun, and he's not going to have many laps left to try and go quicker. He sits in 3rd and was our best position to try and overtake Salehi, but it looks like Hagendick did return to the track to see if he can get one last shot at this. There's Latvala, so this is definitely not going to be a quick one for him with that spin coming out of the junction. Hopefully this doesn't ruin the next lap as well, as Robinson, they're in 6th position. Looks like he had a discounted lap himself.
And here comes Ron Palmer, currently 8th in that GT2 category, giving a little flash of his lights just for funs, I think there. Comes across the line here. He's not going to be able to go any faster there. Looks like about 3/10 off the pace.
Baccignone is next in the 581, sitting 10th in the GT1 class as the California driver flies across the line. That 129.8 stays put. Looks like a lot of them having trouble keeping it on the track, with many of them finding their times deleted. Schulem also suffering that this time by on his 16th qualifying lap. So what about Sipek, who is in 4th outside of that second row? A 140.3. That is quicker, but he does not advance up the order. He stays P4.
And here comes Hagendick on a quick lap, but we're going to check on Connor Bloom, who's unable to go faster there as well. Travis Brown unable to improve as well. They've only got about 2 more laps, the guys that just crossed the line. Here is Jerry Freckleton, though, your current GT2 points leader. He's going to come across, hoping to improve on a 3rd place position.
Can he get on the front row? Not this lap, unfortunately. It's about 4/10 off of his quickest. Michael Brian Johnson, still our fastest driver out there. Corey Lotvala, as he crosses the line, gets another lap deleted, unfortunately. And looks like he'll have time for 2 more, I think, as long as he hustles back around. Ron Doe, still looking to try and go quicker by 3/100ths of a second. Cannot find a clean one to put down.
Same there with BJ Fulton. Looks like a very, very slow lap for him. And Joe, I'm just kind of looking over at some of the track conditions. Doesn't look like it'd be anything too hard to catch these drivers out. 85 degrees on track, only 2 miles an hour of wind, so there's not a lot of bluster throwing these cars around, as you see Ron Palmer also unable to improve.
Yeah, it seems like they shouldn't be too tough out there, but it's easy for us to say from up here in the booth as we watch Schulem once again, and yet again is not going to have that lap count. Michael W. Johnson in the GT1 class gets a flyer going, and he only has to make up about 3/4 of a 1/10 of a second to catch up to BJ Fulton, get onto that row 2. Connor Bloom, that time by. Fortunately, that is not going to be a valid lap time. Carasay does have one on the board now, but that one won't count either. A 43.4 puts him 11th in his class.
Oh, Eric Hagendick was able to improve, but that lap didn't count for him, it looks like. So a little bit of a heartbreak there. John Momeyer looking like he is letting Robinson go by there. This is going to be his last lap. It's going to be this will be the start of the final lap for all of these drivers out there. Salehi looks like he's at least close to his time, but let's watch BJ Fulton. I'm not sure if he's going to get another lap after this.
I don't think he's going to make it. It'll be very tight. 1-0. Nope. This will be checkered flag for him. Can he go higher than 4th? No. He'll stay put. Next across is going to be Jerry Freckleton. Still looking for that pole position. 2.5 off of Johnson, but that lap, is not competitive. So that's not going to work for him. And Nico Silva, still trying to get himself off the very back of his field, is going to come around one more time, and he's given a tow to Robin, who sits in 12th.
And I think of these two, Robin may be a little better set to set a good time here, but let's keep an eye on Silva. He's going to try to cross the line here. Does. Very good improvement there for Nico Silva. Robin not able to improve, but Silva able to improve by about a second, but only nets him 1 position.
Up to 13th. Mehmet is still trying to get one in. Now, he's got a weird current time for being at the end of the lap, so he must have had some sort of connection issue. Let's see what happens as he crosses. Oh, it is quicker. So whatever happened with our timing and scoring, that one did count, but Mehmet unfortunately stays in 11th, even though he improved.
Brian Salehi here, not able to improve on that one, but he's still going to be provisionally on the pole. Let's watch John Momeyer. A little bit of a timing scoring issue there as well. Is John able to improve when everything gets sorted? No, he is not. Same looks like there with Aaron Edwards.
Paul Newton now in the 217, sits in 11th, just outside of those top 10. That lap unfortunately discounted, and he is our last of the field to attempt to set a time. So we'll get to that starting grid in a moment, and it's going to be fascinating to see how this plays out. Salehi looking to try and get back to the top spot, and he doesn't have Travis Brown near him at all on this start, but still in this race. This could be a lot of points chipped away for Brian Salehi if he can just keep in that top spot by the checkered flag. Whereas Michael Ryan Johnson, I'm sure, is hoping to try and see if he can dethrone Jerry Freckleton, who's been on quite a tear lately down there in that GT2 class. So the session ticks over. It's time to go through our starting grid for today. It'll be Brian Salehi who puts it on the pole, with Eric Hagendick in second place. Corey Latvala starts P3 with BJ Fulton in fourth spot. Michael Johnson starts in P5 with Matthew Robinson in 6th. Travis Brown all the way down in 7th today will be ahead of Matthew Hollander in 8th. Connor Bloom starts from 9th. Another driver we're not used to seeing struggling this much, with Doug Baccignoni rounding out your top 10. On the next slide, it'll be Paul Newton to the inside of that row, with Michael Roban in 12th ahead of Nico Silva, who just eked in a better time at the end in 13th, and Slavic starting from 14th.
In that GT2 category, Michael Ryan Johnson will be leading off, followed by Mark Rondeau, Jerry Freckleton, your points leader, and Matthew Sipic behind him. John Momeyer will be to the inside of row 10, followed by Jeffrey Shulam. Behind then, 7th in class is Aaron Edwards, followed by Ron Palmer in 8th. Adam Fulton will be 9th, followed by Tyler King. And to round out your back of the field, Mehmet Karasi, the last driver to set a time, and Brian Cooner in 12th.
So 26 cars, make that 25. Cooner is not in the session. He's going to be out of time to be able to line up here in just a moment. So I think we'll have only 25 out there. Now that is much smaller than we've seen sometimes around here in mixed class racing, DJ, but with such a giant lap time difference between these two cars at most tracks, do you think it's still going to be a big problem through that middle part?
I really do, Joe. What makes that second sector so sort of critical when you're dealing with those slower cars is the fact that there's really only one line through there. It's not an area where you can get multiple cars through going side by side. It's a lot of one-line precision type corners. And so it just makes it so incredibly difficult. You've got to kind of wait until you've got the right opportunity, and that can cost you half a second, maybe even a full second a lap if you catch traffic at the wrong time.
As we watch our GT2 leader Rondeau and Johnson lead them away behind our faster class. Let's see if anybody can take advantage of that long run down to the first corner and attempt to make a pass down into the Senna S amongst them, because they do have a bit more of a start compared to our GT1s, who will see the Porsche pace car leap into the pits and give them just a short blast up to the first one. So as we come around out of Junction, it's the long climb up the hill, trudging along at only 50 miles an hour for these guys right now. And why do we have what in the world? How did Latvala get ahead of everybody like that? Where did he come from?
I'm not sure, Joe. That's a bit of a surprise to everybody there, seeing how he looks like he's able to get back in line, though.
I think he had some connection issues and he didn't realize where the pack was, so he tried to just get out of everybody's way. Hopefully that doesn't get him a penalty, as the Porsche pace car is now in the lane. Salehi gets the green flag, and it's a very poor start for Hagendick. He's going to get swamped on either side as they go 3 wide, but Bayern has a clear track in front of him as they come down to the first corner. Deep braking, maybe way too deep for Hagendick. He's going to go off course as everybody plunges on bike. Can he keep out of everybody's way? Just barely, and somehow they don't have an accident. Let's go to the GT2s.
Well, in the GT2s, it was a bit of a middling start there for Michael Ryan Johnson, but able to get away nice and easy near the end. Ooh, a couple of guys off in the back. We've got a big kerfluffle there.
Oh, no. Looks like Fulton involved, Rondeau, and I see Shulam off. Oh, we got more accidents up on our GT1 class. BJ Fulton and Corey Lotvala. My goodness. This has been a wild start to this race, but up at the front of Salehi, leading our GT1s. Johnson also leads in our GT2s. Looks like Hollander had some sort of slowdown penalty as he falls back to 11th in his class. We'll try and check on those incidents in a little bit if we get an opportunity, but right now it's been a bit frantic.
Very much so, and normally in areas that you don't see, but this is Nico Silva here. We're going to follow back. This is Matthew Robinson, excuse me, as he's working his way up forward.
Silva's up from 13th. He's in 4th position right now. This has been an incredible start for him. Things have completely swapped around for the number 28, but now he is towing along Robinson, who we ride along board with, who pulls up behind him. I don't think he's got enough straightaway here, but he definitely closed that gap down.
No, he does not. I think that's a pretty heads-up move there from Robinson, thinking about it. Oh, but Connor Bloom with a very opportunistic move. Heads-up play there from him, getting into the head of Matthew Robinson. Now he is going to be right up behind Robinson, going down this straight with Doug Baccignoni towing in as well.
More accidents with Roban off, and him spinning, unfortunately, catches out a couple of our GT2 drivers. Palmer and I believe Edwards, unfortunately, at the side of the track from that one. Let's take a look and see how this one started. So Palmer's going to come upon the turned Roban. And I think he just... Yeah, unfortunately, it looked like that was... I'm sure I forget who that was that he ran into there that just pinched down trying to stay out of the accident.
Yeah, I think that was Palmer thinking he had to move, and that was Aaron Edwards ahead of him that just saw the accident coming. It's one of the drawbacks of that blind corner. Palmer had no way of knowing that there was a stop vehicle up there.
Oh, and Freckleton, our championship leader, just had a spin, a self-spin coming out of turn 8. This is important. This falls him down quite a few positions to 5th.
And Joe, that was that tricky uphill right-hander that I was talking about in pre-race. Just gets a little bit too much of the curb. That's going to unsettle the car, throw him out of it a little bit. And then he comes down here, carries a little bit too much speed. I think that was a situation where he was looking up the road into Pireno, that left-handed hairpin, thinking about where to go, and was just dragging the brake a little bit is what it looked like.
Now, remember how I mentioned Bloom seemed a little out of place? Well, he is on a charge and attacking Nico Silva. He tried it down into the first corner, into the Senna S. It didn't work. He tried it into the Interlagos. Is he going to have to stay patient here, or does he get aggressive into the horseshoe? He takes a look. He's going to try and take away the inside, and he's going to get it. Slips through. Robinson not able to follow him as Silva shuts the door.
That is an amazing pass from Connor Bloom. We just got done talking about how tricky it is to go through there. I can't imagine going through too wide, so massive credit to the number 95.
And there was almost a pass from Robinson into the next corner, but he had to back out of it yet again. Don't need to go to it, but I can report that Doug Baccignoni had a slip-up coming into the Ducks Bill and hit the wall. He gets it going once again. Oh, a little wide there from Bloom. He was pushing the limits, but it looks like he got away with it.
Yeah, and that's one of those areas that we talked about. You can pick up those off tracks there, Joe, coming out of the junction. You want to maximize speed coming out of the corner as you lead onto this long pit straight, but you've got to be very careful. Bloom very lucky to hold it. You see the multiple lines there taking down into the Senna S. A little bit of a lockup there behind for Nico Silva.
Bloom went very deep into the corner as well, but here comes Robinson as the Rothman's livery on that number 27 shows big in the mirrors of the 28. He's going to bob to the inside. Can he outbrake him into the corner? Maybe. Oh, the 28 goes deep into the Interlagos, And that allows Robinson to get side by side, but he's on the wrong side of the track coming up to the Descida del Lago, or the horseshoe rather. Tries to hold it around the outside, finds the grip, and he's going to take the spot.
I was gonna say, as he did that, you can make that move out there, but Silva not letting it go, trying to fight him back in there, but not gonna happen down into Pierino there, the duck's bill. So that, or excuse me, the next corner is the duck's bill.
Something happened to Salehi. Our leader is off course. They're gonna go, there he goes, at the side of the track as he gets passed by multiple cars down into this hairpin. He's suddenly found, well, this is a wall I don't think I've ever seen anybody hit.
So there he goes down into the hairpin there, brings it back up. Oh, the car ran a little bit wide, overcorrected, and tried to catch it coming in through the duck's bill. Little bit of the wall there. You can see it, and then he basically just tries to cut the course a little bit to get himself back on track.
It's probably the best way to go. He comes back off the racing line there, so.
Oh, and Joe, in that battle with Salehi, we've got a cut back live. That was Hagendick and Silva. They are into each other all kinds of ways.
And Silva is in the wall. Wow, this is a wild one. This also involves Salehi, actually. If we go back on a replay, this happened into turn one. Salehi narrowly avoided disaster between Hagendick and Silva getting into each other. There you can see, my goodness, he's a cannonball.
Hagendick just doing his best impression of a pinball wizard there, bouncing off and forth between the wall and into Silva. And it looks like now that Hagendick has retired the car, damage very terminal on that blue and orange machine.
It's a bad day for Eric as we check back in on Johnson. This is at the front of the, no, excuse me, this is at the front. We have two Michael Johnsons leading. Michael W. is at the front of the GT1 class, and Michael Ryan is at the front of the GT2s. There you see him.
All right, and just to confuse us even more, both of those drivers hailing from Texas, so that'll make us even more confused as we go to the booth. But yeah, this is Michael Ryan Johnson, the leader of that GT2 class. But we're going to focus here on Michael W. Johnson, who's in a battle with Travis Brown.
Ooh, a very close battle as the 300 gets a great run coming off of the Curva de Sol. He's going to get to the inside. They brake hard down into the Descida del Lago, and he is tidy, so the 300 gets himself up into the lead with the dramatic turns of events that we have seen. Travis Brown is taking this one by the neck. And that is very, very good, aggressive elbows out driving from Brown. You saw how hard he was pinching Michael W. Johnson over to the right side of the track there. Michael is a very experienced driver, hard to get in his head, but he limited his options going into the Descida del Lago, and that's really what allowed him past on the inside. Now, this is important as we switch over to the battle for second in the GT2s. Momeyer being attacked by Sipek. I've been watching him. He's been having a great race here in the 16. He's going to send it in hard into the Senna S, maybe a little bit too much. As for the over-under, Momeyer tries to switch back, but it's not there, and behind them, that's Freckleton, our points leader, sitting in fourth, thinking maybe he can get onto the podium. But as I was saying, Johnson and Brown are our top two in the points. Johnson leading would have tied them up, I believe, if he had stayed put. So this retains the points lead for Brown now that he has moved back to the head of that GT1 class, bounding over the curbs there. And a great run for Freckleton as we ride on board. Very aggressive down to those inside curbs. Looks like he's got a full car ahead as they work their way up the hill, and indeed he is past Momeyer. Ooh, Momeyer trying to carry a little bit more momentum there, and that's going to cost him, I think, ever so slightly. Freckleton just on a charge after that early mistake. Showing why he is leading the championship down to those GT2s as things getting a little bit sketchy here. Michael W. Johnson nearly getting an opportunity on Brown as they weave past a battle in the GT2 class. Really and truly, and good job here from Michael not letting Travis Brown get too far away from him, keeping that gap down under about a half a second here. They're going to be coming up more and more of that GT2 traffic as they continue to go along. This is in the mid-pack in the GT1s. Hollander trying to hold off Nico Silva, who Well, I can't tell if he's out of place or not, because he definitely seemed to take advantage of the accidents at the start of this race, but then he was doing good to hold tough with some of the faster drivers. This one is going to look like BJ Fulton maybe has an advantage as he almost squeezes him off, entering into Mergulo. But Fulton backs out, now comes up to the junction. Is he going to set him up on the run up to the start-finish line?
Well, I think that's what BJ is going to want to do, and he is going to be keenly aware of what I'm looking at there. You can see it, that rear wing for Silva, a little bit misshapen as courtesy of that damage with of that contact with Hagendick. Yeah, look at the run BJ's got. Here he comes.
Down to the inside, and Silva does not defend. The 28 lets him through, maybe tries to duck back underneath him. And he could get a great launch. He does, but his momentum is interrupted, and BJ Fulton is there. The slipstream now starts to tow the 28 closer to that rear wing. But the defensive move from BJ Fulton covers it off. He opens the door, sells him a dummy, and Silva tries to stick his nose in. It doesn't get him the spot, but going wide. BJ Fulton using a little bit of extra track there.
Yeah, it may have been a very slight off track. I definitely saw those right side tires jink over the edge of the curb, so that may hurt him. Also, now looking out the back of Fulton, looks like he's got some wing damage as well.
Yeah, you're right. So, unfortunately, the 277 dealing with a bit of his own, as we are just about halfway through this race now. And as they come out of the infield portion of the track, they're going to once again pick up speed. So it comes down to, at this point, almost who is less damaged. But we got a battle between Sipek and Freckleton, and that's also dealing with our leaders and the GT1s as he goes right on past Sipek. Freckleton with a savvy move to take second place.
But that's pushing Michael W. Johnson off into the runoff there as Freckleton trying to gather the car back under him. Both cars look like they're relatively unscathed, but that is a hair-raising moment for your P2 in GT1.
Freckles saying, I got my own race to run, man, as he had to track out there. Let's watch Johnson. I mean, he was trying to size it up. He wanted to keep touch with Brown. He's also fighting hard here. He switches to the outside. Tries to flash his lights, but man, that GT4 car does not have a whole lot of grip. I think he should have seen that one coming.
Yeah, exactly. That is no fault of Jerry Freckleton there. You cannot get that car to exactly turn on a dime, and you can see him, I'm sure if we went on board with him, feverishly sawing at the wheel.
And Bloom has his hands full down in third. Salehi, who used to be our leader, is trying to recover. He is all over the back of him, but he's dealing with two things at once, because that's Robinson also fighting for position right behind.
It is indeed, and that is part of the battle we were just watching as they work their way by Jerry Freckleton. But here they go up the hill. I think Bayern may have been slightly compromised coming out of the junction, and indeed, it doesn't look like he has the best of runs here on Connor Bloom.
So here's the question. If Salehi can get by some of this traffic and get ahead of Bloom to chase down Johnson and Brown, does he have enough pace to run them down and challenge for the lead again? Because he's only 9 seconds back, and his fastest lap is currently about 0.3 quicker than our leader's fastest lap.
Well, we'll have to see what he's going to be able to do, but before he can even start to think about that, he has got to get past that pink number 95 in front of him, just dogging his footsteps here through the Cita del Lago as they charge back up the hill. Not really too much gained or lost in between the two.
Not at all. So maybe this is him meeting his match, and Connor Bloom, who, like I said, is usually relatively quick himself, might be able to fend him off, at least for a little while. They're going to go by Michael Ryan Johnson, our leader in the GT2 class. Does a good job of staying out of the way. He's like getting awful close to the back of him, yeah.
Running him out there. Now the run into junction, this is the crucial point. He got held up in traffic last time out. Can he get it right here? It's a lot of steering input. Ooh, mistake from Bloom. He goes wide.
And already you can see the better speed from the 15, but that's the longer way around, and he starts to fall back a little bit. Gets another dose of the draft, then pops out to the outside. Bloom staying defensive as they fly towards the Senna S. And he brakes very, very late. He's not going to make that apex. He'll be just off it, but it's enough to keep Salehi behind. Oh, he spins, and off to the side goes Connor Bloom as the 95 finds himself facing the wrong way on the track.
I do not know how Brian Salehi managed to keep that car from running into the 95 ahead of him, but that is amazing. Heads up, and here comes Robinson fighting on Salehi.
He had to check up, and that meant that Robinson could take advantage. But it's just not meant to be. So Salehi keeps him back. He's now got clear track in front of him and 7.8 seconds to make up to get up with Johnson. But he's about 10.5 back from Travis Brown now.
Yeah, that check up there through turn one. Ooh, lock up from Salehi. Hello, says Matthew Robinson. Dude decides not to go at it into Piriheno. They're going to charge back up to the duckbill. Robinson now is going to be the one thinking about trying to get the better run through the junction.
Do you think Brian maybe has used up his stuff a little bit, just fighting so hard like we've seen him doing?
It's very possible, Joe. You know, the GTEs that these RSRs run on, their tire models, they don't wear necessarily on the tires, but you can overheat them, and you have to spend a couple of laps driving deliberately slowly to cool them down, and Brian may be in a situation that he's got slightly overheated tires.
He doesn't seem to be pulling away from Robinson like I expected. In fact, Matthew is closing on him in a big way. Almost gets into the back of him as they break into the first corner. Thankfully, they do not make contact. Down through that chicane. Looks like the advantage goes back to the 15 with a good exit.
Yeah, I think that near contact there from Matthew might have started him a little bit, but he's going to try to fight back again here through the retro pasta. Good closing speed, not close enough to make a move.
Ooh, going very wide there as Robinson takes another off track. And remember, they do have penalties here. If they hit 17 incidents, they will be given a drive-through, so they've got to keep it clean. It's not that long of a race, but I've seen a lot of drivers finding themselves abusing the limits.
Yeah, and Joe, watching Brian through here, my gut instinct in seeing how slow he is down the straights, frankly, would make me say that he may be running a little bit more wing, but he's not really able to pull away through that twisty sector 2 like we've talked about. He's able to get a good advantage there out of the duck spill, but that's the only time I've been able to see him really get an advantage.
Well, they do have quite a big diffuser on this car. Wonder if maybe he damaged it somewhere going off track. He did clip the wall as well with his little foray through the duckspill off into the infield. This one looks a little bit better. Last time he was being run down hand over fist, but Robinson, yeah, is going to have to hold back. Once again, he shows his nose, but oh, wow, strong on the brakes. The 27 definitely making Brian think twice about things.
He certainly is, but Brian being very, very collected behind the wheel of that 15 machine. But here comes Robinson, got a little bit of a better run out of the Senna S, but still not close enough. You see him continually poking his nose out there, playing that mind game we like to talk about, just seeing if he can force Brian into a mistake.
So this is one of our closest battles on the track. We don't need to go to it, but last round's winner, Corey Lotfula, is closing in on Nico Silva, so the battle for 7th behind them might wind up being a good one in a few laps' time if this starts to break apart. Also, I can see Sipek trying to hold off John Momeyer, who, let's not forget that Momeyer is our second in the points, so this 4th place is not good for him with Freckleton up in 2nd right now.
No, it really isn't, and Momeyer is, always seems to be in the thick of things, but not exactly able to close down on Sipek here. It just doesn't look like he has the closing speed.
It holds him within about a second as Sipek running in the podium positions is not looking like he's going to catch back up to Freckleton. Ever since he got by him, it has been good night. And Jerry, actually, I wonder if he has sights on the lead. Could we get a lap comparison between car 3 and car 57 at some point? Because I'm kind of curious. We haven't been paying close attention to Jerry, but if he's been gaining on Michael Ryan Johnson, 10 minutes left in this race might leave us with an interesting battle.
Right, indeed. There you can see it. Definitely a little bit of growth there early on, but Jerry's been closing down pretty consistently over the past 3 laps.
Yeah, for some reason he caught up 3.5 seconds on lap 9. Wonder if that was due to traffic. And since then, he has indeed been gaining. Oh, and Latvala is not only by Silva, but by Fulton, who is now battling with Nico, as Nico racks up another incident point. Oh, and going very wide, something happened to Corey Latvala there.
I think he just caught a little bit of the exit curb coming off of Descida del Lago. We're going to check back on the replay here. You can see that battle behind. Comes in, yep, just runs the car a little bit wide, and that causes him to miss the apex of the second part of that corner and makes him run wide there again on the exit.
And both spots easily get by. Nico Silva still dealing with BJ Fulton in front of him, trying to get that spot back. When watching these two go back and forth, tit for tat, for a while in this race, and that's not going to help the likes of Nico Silva, who hits the wall coming off of the junction. Let's take another look at this one. This day has been somewhat frustrating for the 28 car.
It has. We watch him here as he lines up for the junction. Just a little bit of over-rotation on the apex. Couldn't get it down. And then right there into the wall. Oh, tough break for Nico on a truly ping-pong up and down of a day.
He falls down to 9th because of that. Latvala gets his spot back, and he's in 8th. But BJ Fulton comes out the best of that group into P7. Granted, he's about 13 seconds behind Matt Hollander, so he's got a long ways to go. Our leader out in the GT1s is still our points leader in that championship. Travis Brown up to 7.8 seconds. Ever since he overtook Michael W. Johnson, he's not looked back, and the 9 has not held the same pace, anywhere near the same pace as that 300 car.
No, he certainly hasn't. And we also jump back to take a quick look at Michael Ryan Johnson, the leader of that GT2 category. Looks like that charge from Freckleton has stalled out a little bit. The gap now growing up to about 6.7 seconds.
Yeah, I think they had a bad lap 12, or Freckleton did at least, because last lap it was pretty close, 40.5 for Johnson and a 40.6 for Freckleton. Only a tenth between them, but he'll need much better laps than that if he wants to cut down on a gap that big, with now only 7 minutes to go.
Yeah, time's certainly running out for Jerry Freckleton here. Able to get that gap down a little bit there. It seems like now the gap's down to about 6.5, but that's a whole lot of time to make up in under 7 minutes.
Now, we were covering Brian Salehi's charge back through the field. He has dropped Robinson finally, and now is catching up to Michael W. Johnson. Brian, who started this season very strong, seems to have been struggling for a bit, and now is just trying to minimize the damage to Travis Brown. If he can get into second, that'll do a good job of it, although it won't be a perfect day by any stretch of the imagination.
Certainly will, Joe, and I'm looking at the lines of both of these drivers, both Johnson and Salehi, and I have to say Salehi just looks so much tighter through that infield section. It looks like that Michael Johnson is having to work a little bit more, just sort of inches off of the apex in certain points, and Salehi just able to get that car perfectly where he wants to. Now starts to pull up behind in the draft, decides not to try to make a move here, but that gap has now been reduced to under 0.4 of a second, so Salehi's certainly within striking range.
And somehow we missed something with John Momeyer, who had to come into pit lane and take an actual pit stop. It almost looked like a splash and dash. So I wonder if he short-fueled it accidentally, as we keep watching to see if Salehi has to go down into the Descida del Lago. No, he's going to wait patiently yet again, and it might actually pay off as he gets a great exit off that corner. We've seen a few passes down into the horseshoe. He thinks about it. He gets the overlap that shakes Johnson off the racing line, and that'll get him the inside. Oh, but he tips him, and Johnson goes spinning. He keeps it from running back on track. Oh, but then he backs onto it, and Robinson has to take evasive maneuvers to get around him.
Oh, very, very tough break there for Michael W. Johnson. We're going to jump back and check the replay here. Joe, as you said, it was a great run out of Descida del Lago for Brian Salehi. This is a bit of an aggressive maneuver. You can see just how much he mounts the curbs. He has so much momentum and really nowhere to go, especially with the car bouncing over the curbs like that. It just unsettles the car. He's got no control of it and nowhere to go but into the side of Michael W. Johnson.
It's a shame it came to that, but this does give second place to Brian Salehi. Been running pretty decent laps at 29.4, 29.3. Compare that to Travis Brown, who's been running 30.1, 31.4, 30.3. So he's actually much quicker, but he's run out of time. It's 7 seconds up to our leader with only 4 minutes left to go. So we've got, let's see, about 3 laps left, I think.
Yeah, I think that's about right. And there you can see Travis making his way out of Descida del Lago and up his way towards the horseshoe. Doesn't really have to push at this point. He knows that that gap is hovering around 8 seconds. At this point, he just wants to get this car to the end. He's going to have to navigate his way around some lap traffic. That is Jerry Freckleton ahead of him, but relatively smooth sailing for the number 300.
Been some wild swings today. Travis Brown going from 7th on the grid to a potential win at this point, whereas you have the likes of Corey Lotvilla, who started 3rd, and he's all the way down in 8th place. So certainly some drivers having better days than others. Now Matthew Robinson has gotten into 3rd because of what happened between Johnson and Salehi, but he's not very far ahead of him. I think Johnson still has a shot at the podium.
I think he does too, Joe. And Robinson was held up there a little bit on Matthew Sipek coming through the Ducks bill. He just had to take a wide angle through the corner, and that allowed for Johnson to gain a couple of tenths on him. You see there the gap growing ever so slightly down the straight. You know, I wonder if that little off track, we talked about the diffuser earlier, I wonder if Michael W. Johnson has a little bit of diffuser damage to that car.
That would explain why he's potentially a little slow everywhere, as that certainly would affect all different aspects of the car. It's hard to see from our cameras. Always difficult to tell if there is damage on that portion of the vehicle. You can see how quickly they approach and have to make decisions going past our GT2 class cars. But thankfully that one went easy and safely through the Descida del Lago. Not much happening in the other class, frankly. Michael Ryan Johnson currently about 8 seconds ahead of Freckleton, who has continued to drop off. So it seems that Michael Ryan has got much better pace today. A little bit of a blinking car just to give Travis Brown some concern. That was Karasay that he was going around the outside of. And indeed, white flag gets pulled out for the number 300 Porsche. And he's got one more lap to go.
He does indeed. There he goes one more time through the Senna S. Not a whole lot of traffic in front of him, but this is the leader of that GT1 category, or GT2 category, excuse me, also taking the white flag, Michael Ryan Johnson.
Johnson's got to be feeling good about this one, as he is looking to take a valuable win on his return to the series after being away for a little bit. Let's give some love to the 300 of Travis Brown. Once again, making good on things swinging his way, capitalizing when others falter as we ride on board with him. He's just got a few more corners to go, and it'll be another win in the hands of Travis Brown. Looks as calm as you like here. Not really seeing much in the way of frantic driving. Steering inputs are pretty nice and smooth. And as he accelerates out of the junction, that is it. As long as he doesn't run out of fuel, this is his race. What a run from Travis Brown, who is our victor here today at Interlagos.
Just an amazing drive through the field there for Travis, and then once he got up to the front, never let it go. The 300 takes victory.
Michael Ryan Johnson as well can take it a little bit easy. He had about an 8-second lead over Jerry Freckleton, but I think he's letting some traffic by just to play it safe because it's down to 6 seconds as Michael Ryan Johnson is going to come back on a win here in Brazil in the GT2 class. As John Momeyer's trying to come back after a mysterious pit stop that we're not sure what the cause of was. He's got Ron Palmer just behind him, and I think he must have overtaken him recently.
Ooh, I believe that's right, as there you see Palmer going very wide in the lead up to the junction. Now works his way up the hill, that familiar red and yellow of Momeyer ahead of him. That's 6th and 7th in that category. Getting separated out. It looks like this is a pretty clear run for Momeyer in 6th.
That was Slavic who just went through, finishing 10th. Only 11 cars on the lead lap at the end of our 30-minute race today. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back with the unofficial results. Stick around because we'll also have driver interviews coming your way. Welcome back to Interlagos. Round 7 in the Porsche Owners Club Series has wound up giving another victory to Travis Brown, as faster drivers just couldn't seem to keep away from the walls and off tracks today. Bayan Salehi, who led the early stages, made his own mistake and then found himself having to fight his way back up to second, a little roughly at times too, with Matthew Robinson coming home in third ahead of Michael W. Johnson finishing P4. Connor Bloom, who at first was charging up himself starting from 9th, eventually had his own issues, spun at the Senna S and found himself in 5th at the checkered flag. Matt Hollander, a bit of a quiet race for him, but he managed a 6th with BJ Fulton finishing P7. Corey Lotvilla going backwards today, taking 8th, and Nico Silva all over the place, coming home 9th. Jim Slavic was 10th, with the last car on the lead lap being Robon, and 11th. Hagendick returned to the track after a big wreck, finishing P12.
In that GT2 category, Michael Ryan Johnson started off in pole and never looked back, driving a very clean and consistent race to win that category. Jerry Freckleton behind him continues his growth in the championship. He is going to stay on top of it. There comes home P2. Matthew Sipik behind him to round out your podium. Aaron Edwards came home in fourth in category, followed by Tyler King and John Momeyer, with Ron Palmer behind them. Rounding out the rest of that field, Adam Fulton was in 8th in class, followed by Mark Rondeau, Mehmet Karasi, and Jeffrey Shulam.
We've got our winner ready to talk to us, Travis Brown, and let's see what he thinks of that race. Because, Travis, you started all the way back from 7th. Did you have problems in qualifying, or was that your legitimate pace there?
No, that was my legit pace. Just everybody was super fast, and we were all like the top 10 of us were all within a second in qualifying. And I think my setup was a little better race setup than quali setup, because I actually did a faster lap in the race than I did in qualifying. But I didn't mess with the quali setup at all. But everybody else was just so fast tonight. I didn't think I stood a chance.
Well, speaking of which, I'm trying to remember, did you actually pass anybody tonight? Because a good chunk of them fell away on the very first lap.
Yeah, I got 4 freebies on that turn 4 incident on lap 1, and I think my only legit pass was on Michael, which was for the lead, but only because Bayern unfortunately spun. So yeah, it's kind of anticlimactic to get a win with one pass starting from 7th.
Yeah, now that you say that, we did cover that moment where you managed to get past Michael, which wound up being quite decisive. Well, this is fantastic for your championship as well, because you were already ahead of Johnson, and with him finishing down in 4th, your lead just keeps growing.
I mean, I'll definitely take it, but this was a little lucky tonight for sure, because this is not a great track for me, and Bayern was legitimately way faster. He smoked me in a couple practice races, but I was just hoping I could get on the podium, but I'll definitely take it.
Well, doing well where you struggle is definitely a good sign for those championship hopes. Congratulations. Who helped make this one possible?
I think I got to give this one to all the guys. It was just fun. They just pushed me, they were all faster, and I put in a little extra practice. So I think it was just consistency paid off, but it was because of the competition.
Great stuff. Obviously appreciating everybody he shares the track with. That was Travis Brown, our winner in the GT1s, and DJ's caught up with our winner in the GT2s, Michael Ryan Johnson.
Well, Michael, you started off in the pole, and it looks like you managed to avoid a lot of the carnage out there today. It looked like a pretty run-of-the-mill drive for you.
Yeah, DJ, absolutely. There was a bunch of commotion at the start of these, like we're used to seeing at the start with these multi-class races, and I got really fortunate. I was in the right place at the right time, got through some of those early mishaps, and that gave me a little bit of a buffer. And from there, I was able to just put my head down and put out really consistent laps, and just build a little gap from there.
Well, I have to ask you, late in the race, it looked like Jerry was maybe starting to close in on you a little bit there. Were you looking at the relatives and trying to keep that at bay, or was it just kind of a thing of putting in the best times you can?
Yeah, I absolutely saw that as well. I did have an eye on the relatives, and Jerry was running great. He was putting in some good laps tonight as well. And one of the big things, and the reason I did this race, preparing for actually a 14-hour race in Daytona at the end of the week, and learning to deal with that traffic, just practicing managing the traffic as those faster cars came through. And so it was really kind of finding the right balance of being cautious enough to give those guys room, but also continuing to do fast lap times and keep Jerry behind me.
Well, I'd say it paid off for you. Looking up the road, we're headed to Barcelona in 2 weeks. Can we see you out there, and how do you think it's going to be?
You know what? I've actually gotten to practice a little bit on Barcelona. Love the circuit, and so I would love to. unfortunately, the thing that's been keeping me from doing as much sim racing as I would like is that I've started my own private race coaching business, and it's just it's kind of been taking off, and I haven't had as much time to practice, and so I absolutely am hoping to get back there for Barcelona. But on the other side, I'm hoping I stay busy enough that I won't be able to make it. We'll see, but fingers crossed that I can join you guys.
Well, we'll be hoping for it, and I have to say that being busy in the outside world is certainly the best excuse that you can give as to not being here. But Michael, again, congratulations, and anybody you'd like to thank before we let you go tonight.
Hey, thank you so much, DJ. Everyone at Global SimRacing Channel, and also everyone at Porsche Owners Club. A couple of my personal sponsors, FSE LA, Linear Edge, Moflac Biocomposites, and Klim Construction. Some people that have always been great supporters, and I'm very grateful for their help. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Michael. That was Michael Ryan Johnson, your GT2 winner, and now Joe Peak has caught up with Bayan Salehi.
Bayan Salehi, who had an adventurous day. Bayan, let's start with the first mistake of the afternoon. Unfortunately, it seemed like you had a problem into the ducks, Bill, and you hit a piece of Armco I don't think I've ever seen anybody make contact with.
Yeah, what you guys witnessed was just pure human error and a lack of practice in the last 2 weeks. I was just lucky enough to have had a lot of experience at this track and doing endurance races, and but definitely that was just a bonehead mistake by me, and tried to correct it too much and ended up over there. But yeah.
Well, from there, it definitely was starting to look better because you had a magnificent drive through the field. But then you came upon Michael Johnson. It looked like it could go either way in terms of how the incident could be viewed. What's your take on the contact you made with the number 9 car?
Yeah, I mean, first off, I want to apologize to Johnson because, I mean, I could have definitely been more patient with the pass. But I was looking at it, and it's, you know, it's more or less a racing incident, and you know, I just had so much pace, and I was eager to get around him and just cut down Travis's lead by as much as I could. But yeah, it was kind of a racing incident, but yeah, I could have been much more patient with that one for sure.
Speaking of Travis's lead, he's obviously going to extend it a bit over both you and Michael Johnson after this race, but there's still plenty of season left to go, and he seems to think that you've mostly got the measure of him in terms of raw pace. Do you feel hopeful that you can still try and cut that down enough to get back up to the top spot?
Definitely gonna have to put in some hours if I want to keep up with him. I mean, I've just been lucky at these last couple tracks, but we have a super long season, and I definitely need to learn a good chunk of these tracks to be able to keep up.
Well, it's been an incredible battle to watch, both on and off the track, as this has gone by. Thanks for coming and talking to us, and feel free to give credit to whoever made this podium possible.
All right. Usual thanks to POC, GSRC. Thanks to the boys for putting on a good show at the track. And yeah, take care.
As Bayan Salehi, second place in the GT1s. And up next, DJ Clark has caught up with second place in the GT2s today, Jerry Freckleton.
Well, Jerry, another second place for you here. By our calculations, that's going to help move your points lead in the championship up a little bit, but certainly a crazy day out there at Interlagos.
Oh, my goodness, yeah. From the very beginning, when I got a little bit too greedy with the throttle and got the thing sideways and spun out, and then had to come back up, and then towards the end, we started pulling. It looked like we were pulling Michael in, and then the tires just kind of gave up the ghost. But that, I'll tell you what, the Airwolf 3D machine was running pretty good today.
It certainly was. And I wanted to ask you, so you had that error so early on. How do you sort of, as a driver in the cockpit, gather your thoughts back up and start that charge back up the field? How do you really,
well, I've been racing all my life since I've been little, professional motocross and all that. But I'll tell you what, my coach, excuse me, Michael Johnson has told me that, you just have to kind of throw that stuff away and try and settle down and come back and be as smooth as you can. So we've had to do that quite a few times so far this season, due to a lot of other times were my mistakes.
Well, I'd say it's working out for you, Jerry. Now turning the calendar ahead, we go from one great Formula One circuit to another at Barcelona. How do you think you're going to fare around there?
Well, hopefully we'll be able to do the same thing, if not better. That's how we'll look at it.
It's what I like to hear.
You know, all these racetracks, they're all got black asphalt on them, right? And you just have to work with the setup. And you know what? My coach, Michael Johnson, just helps me out tremendously. I can't express how much he really helps me and gets me prepared.
Well, I'd say that's the first thank you of the night, but anybody else you'd like to thank before we let you go, Jerry?
Yeah, I'd like to thank you guys, GSRC, the Porsche Owners Club, especially all my teammates in the Porsche Owners Club, and my coach, Michael Johnson, and, of course, my girlfriend, Denise Lanigan.
Well, thank you so much, Jerry. And again, congratulations on second place.
Well, I really appreciate it. And hopefully we'll talk to you next time.
Looking forward to it. That was Jerry Freckleton, your second place finisher in the GT2 category. And now Joe Peak has caught up with Matthew Sipek.
Yeah, Matt, a podium here today. And we were talking to Travis Brown, our winner in the GT1, saying how so many cars wrecked out in front of him. You kind of had a little bit of a similar situation, it seemed.
Yeah, I qualified okay. And then I just was taking really easy. This is my first race, and luckily I did because there's a little bit of carnage in front of me.
That sort of caution definitely seemed to pay off, but then you definitely had to work for it for the rest of the race. That battle you had with Momeyer looked like a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. I had a little bit more pace early on, but then later after I think Jerry got past me, the GTE cars, I lost my line. I wasn't quite sure, and so John was able to back up to me, and it was a good fight.
As you mentioned, your first race here with the group. Have you had a chance to run with them in real life stuff with the Porsche Owners Club, or is this first time overall?
I've done 2 autocrosses this year. Those were my first 2 at the Porsche Club. Yeah.
Also, we're curious, you've got the name Babbitt on your door, which doesn't match the name that you've got. Is there a story behind that?
No, just a random trading paint scheme. I probably should put my name on it.
Yeah, people get confused out there. Well, congratulations regardless on a podium today. That is a great first showing and certainly is a good sign for the rest of the season.
Thank you.
As Matthew Sipek, our third place finisher in the GT2. So that's going to wrap things up. And we, of course, are going to thank our sponsors for this series, starting with one of the biggest ones, Porsche. There is no substitute. Find out more at Porsche.com. Sunset Mortgage. Don't put your money in the bank, be the bank. Check them out today at sunsetcash.net. And Octavio Tequila. Celebrate now. For a great tasting tequila, go to octaviotequila.com and purchase today. And Century Financial Consultants, making the rest of your life the best of your life. You can check out their website at centuryretired.com. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. And additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Sean, DJ, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Also, check out our social media through the outlets listed at the bottom of the screen. And if you'd like to support us, check out our merchandise store at gsrc.storenbeat.com. We keep a link in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC, because next time in 2 weeks, we'll be going to Barcelona. That'll be Monday, April 19th at 11 p.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.